Hi everyone, it's Suzanne Venker of AskTheFeministFixer at gmail.com. I'm going to do this a little bit differently because I'm getting several questions from husbands who are essentially asking, like this subject line from Dan says, how to talk to a self-described feminist wife. And then another one from Dave is essentially wanting to know how to turn his wife on to my message without causing a big problem. Is it as simple as leaving your book on the coffee table? Um, so in other words, there's just several emails about what do you do when you've married a feminist wife. It's really the only way to put it. And in fact, one of those two men said this really became more evident as the marriage went on, and that if he had known what he knows now about who she was, really, he wouldn't have married her. So, I mean, there's no question I'm certainly going to suggest that, I'm very hardline about it. No men should marry a feminist. It's bad news. It's going to turn out very badly for you. And I truly believe that. And of course, I'm talking about women who are very proud about their feminist beliefs. If their philosophy is grounded in that ideology, marriages can't work. There's just no way. I mean, even if it starts out relatively easy, invariably as children enter the equation, it's going to change dramatically, which is another big thing that we don't talk enough about, is how dramatically relationships change once you become parents. I mean, the relationship that you had prior to kids just doesn't even remotely match the one you have after, because that's how dramatically different your life becomes, and it forces your relationship to be different. And you respond to the parenting experience in a way that's often very similar to whatever it is you knew growing up, and you become more, to use the, in modern parlance, gendered in the way you move through the world once you have children. That's just what happens. So it is very often that a lot of men don't realize how feministy, that's not really a word, but I made it up, their wives were, until the children come along and they start making these demands that that they got essentially from the culture for whatever it was they believe. So it's, my point being that it's very important, of course, that you iron all this out ahead of time. And number one, if you know right off the bat that you're dating a feminist, run. That's the easiest way to handle that one. And if you don't know, there are ways to kind of figure it out. I mean, you have to, as a man, be really selfish about what you need for a lifelong partner. And you can determine a woman's views when you're dating pretty easily, unless she's just pulling the wool over your eyes. I mean, it's pretty clear as to what her beliefs are. Now, once you're in, like these gentlemen, they have an uphill battle. There is no easy answer for this, I have to say. What they really need is therapy. They need to go into counseling and figure out how they're going to marry their opposing philosophies, if they can, into their marriage as it is now. And depending on how far gone, I would say, your wife is in her ideology, you may be looking at, the fact that there isn't any hope. But it's certainly worth trying. But you need to understand that the core of that is a philosophical difference in the way you view relationships, men, women, parenting. It's just very deep, and you'd really need to iron that out ahead of time. And if it came out later, you need to address it and get to the bottom of it. And if that takes a third party to help you, then great. And if she's not going to come around, or if you guys are not going to have a meeting of the minds, then you're going to have a hard go of it. So I know that's not really positive advice, but I can only say what I know to be true, and that is that those two philosophies of, a feminist-minded approach to the world and a non-feminist approach to the world just are inevitably going to clash. So I feel for men who get themselves into that boat, but that's the best I can tell you. Hope that helps.